Hello and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is that you are listening to us from. My name is Mercy Masila Chola. I'm the founder of Value Connect, executive program leader with the Maxwell Leadership Team, and also your host for the Leadership Garage podcast series, where we have conversations on leadership, conversations that help to raise our performance as leaders, the performance of the teams that we lead, and also conversations that help to sharpen us. Today, I am so happy and privileged to be joined by my good friend, Pius Muchiri. He's the managing director of Nabo Capital, and I want you to join me in welcoming him to our series today. Good morning, Pius, and how are you?
Good morning, Marcy. What a blessed morning to be on this channel. Very excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to an amazing conversation with you. And good morning to
Absolutely.
anyone who is listening to us.
Absolutely. First, I want to say thank you very much for accepting our invitation to be our guest speaker for today. And I can't wait to hear what awesome nuggets that you will be sharing with us. To our viewers and our listeners, let me just share a little bit. I haven't known Pius for a long time, but in the short time I have known him, I feel like I have known him a long time. I first met him when he came to be a guest speaker in my Rotary Club, and he was sharing with us something that resonates very well with this conversation. And I'm not going to go into that because I hope he will share that with us. But as we begin, let me invite Pius to share with us a little bit more about himself. So, Pius, what would you like our audience to know about you?
So I'm told that my mom was very keen to become a nun until she met this very handsome guy who happens to be my dad. And that mission was about that mission aborted. And as part of her, commitment to that cause with God, she got this young man, and she decided to name him Pius after I think there are two popes who are called Pius. And so I got very interested. I'm very keen on names, and I got interested to know what does the name Pius mean. And I found out that it means willing servant of God, willing servant of God. And I found this out in my adulthood. And when I look back at my life, I see that as a common thread in every season and experience that I have gone through, including what I do today, which is I believe my calling, the reason why God created me and put me on this earth is to help people to become wealthy. And this, when I mean people, is families and institutions. And this is what I love doing, making 1 shilling to be 1 shilling and 20 cents, uh, and making life uh, worthwhile so that people can live, not just survive, but live abundantly, which I believe is what God desires for all of us. So that's the very short of what I do. I'm an investor by profession. I have been with the Centum Group for about 19 years now. I'm also a trained accountant. I bring in a combination of things, and all these things make a lot of sense in terms of um, me helping people to become wealthy.
Wow, wow. I like that statement, making people wealthy. And this coming at a time, Pius, when the world is facing almost an economic meltdown and things are getting more difficult day by day. How
Mm.
is that possible for you and I, for the people around us, to still have that wealth creation, even in these times that we're living in? Is it even possible? And if so, could you tell us how to do so?
I think it's I think, I believe it is very possible. And again, you'll hear a lot of my anchoring is on faith. Um, and I see the key subject around here is leadership. And one of the common things amongst all leaders is that leadership experiences will always take you to a place where you feel inadequate, where you feel you need something more than yourself. You can no longer give what the demands are more than what you can give. And what I like about leadership, coming to that point, is that you start realizing that you depend on a supernatural force too, and this is where God comes in. And when God comes in, the kingdom principles kick in. And I'm reminded of was it Isaac who sowed in famine and he reaped 100-fold? I'm reminded of Joseph, who God sent him on a journey, a very adventurous journey, only to end up in Egypt at a period where he was needed to prepare not just the one nation, but the whole world for a period of famine. So I believe that it is such times of economic meltdown that we get to stand out as leaders, not just with our own capacity, but depending on the wisdom that we draw from God. And it is such times that also, as an investor, I will tell you that the richer become more richer. And you've got to ask ourselves, why is it that a few people become wealthier in times of trouble than others? It's because opportunities abound. Uh, During the COVID crisis, there are people who just immediately seized the opportunity of just manufacturing masks, and they became multi-millionaire. They found out they could bring in sanitizers. There were not enough sanitizers in the market. So in every season, there is always a silver lining. And look out for that silver lining, and you'll always find it. And that can be your biggest breakthrough, especially in times of trouble.
Absolutely. Yes, I do attest to what you have shared, Pius, because I too am a person of faith. And just last evening, I was having a conversation with my son as he becomes anxious in the times that we're living in. And I was trying to help him reflect on telling him, you need to look at the source, because the source is the one that resources us in everything that we do. And personally, uh, with my company, Valley Connect, in 2020, when the world shut down and all of us were trying to come to terms and grips with COVID, the pandemic, it ended up being one of our best years. And it's because we were in the right place at the right time and with the right content that we had been resourced through the Maxwell leadership team. And I'm saying this not to impress people or the audience listening to us, but to impress upon them that the words that you have just shared with us can become a reality when we focus ourselves on opportunity as opposed to getting swept away with all the complaints and the whinings that can easily draw us to. So, Pius, I want to ask you, are there certain tips you can give us? Because I said to our audience already that the first time I listened to you, you had this very interesting analogy of a car on a road. And I'm just wondering, are there some practical tips we can give to our audience that they can take advantage of, even in this time, and they can begin to apply in their own lives and begin to see the difference that we're telling them that is possible?
Absolutely. There are tips that we can give, and I like what you just said. The source resources us, and
Yes.
the the most difficult thing for human beings is to know which direction to take, and
Mhm.
especially in difficult times. What decision should you make? And that's where wisdom is required. And that, so for me, I will always say the first thing you've got to refer back to the source. You've got to refer back to the source. And I don't just mean from from a personal point of view, especially in business. Let me give an example. There is this gentleman, I forget his name, but this gentleman was an agricultural scientist. And he had this habit of waking up at 4 a.m. in the morning and walking into the woods and praying to God and inquiring from God. And in this area where he used to live, there was a big problem because whatever they used to grow, he used to advise farmers what to grow. Whatever they used to grow, I think they used to grow cotton. It was not performing. So it was their time of economic meltdown. So he asked God, what should I tell people to do? And very randomly, God answers him back and he says, tell people to plant peanuts. And he went back to the village and he tells people, plant peanuts. So they planted peanuts. They came back to him. They told him, now we have such yields of peanuts. We do not know what to do with the peanuts. And now goes back to his usual routine of praying in the woods at 4 a.m. in the morning, and he's asking God questions, and God just kept asking him, you have not asked me the right question. Until he finally asked, God, what should we do with the peanuts? And God tells him, go to your lab and I will show you what you can do with peanuts. He goes to the lab and God opens up his eyes and he shows him 300 uses of peanuts. The chemical compounds that make up peanuts, there were 300 uses. And one of them, guess what it was?
Peanut butter.
Peanut butter.
I couldn't wait to say that. I didn't know the story, but I was like, that must be the source of peanut butter.
So anybody who is listening to us and has eaten peanut butter, you have received from the ultimate source. And for me, that is the best source of direction in and out of seasons. It's the best tip I can give because there is no template to living this world. Economic textbooks have failed. I was in Dubai a couple of years ago, and we walked into this room with Dr. Chris Kirubi, and we found this gentleman. I think it was called Jennings or something like that. He was an old guy, probably in his 70s, 75 thereabout. And as we entered the room, the guy was saying that the price of cars is coming to zero. And that we sat down with our mouths open. Because how can the price of a car come down to zero? And he continued to say the price of electricity is also coming to zero. We sat down and he started explaining something that he was calling the zero cost margin. And they're saying in his 50 years of career up to that point, he had seen the price of electricity, the one that is charged to all of us, come down from several dollars to cents, and it was headed to zero. I think I looked at Kenya right now. We buy electricity at probably at about 0.84 dollars, which is 84 pence. So we are coming to zero. And he said, a time is coming where we'll be paying energy generating companies for saving energy and not for consuming energy. We park that aside. I mean, it was completely shocking. But why would the cost of a car come down to zero? See, we are moving from a capitalist society to a collaborative society where Our children and their children don't care so much about owning things.
Yep.
They care more about sharing. And if you look at WhatsApp, you don't pay anything for it. Facebook, you don't pay anything for it. I mean, almost everything that is coming out now through technology is headed towards $1 or less than $1, and it is headed downwards. So when you think about Google, it is zero. When you think about ChatGPT that we are using today, it is zero unless you choose to go for a premium service. So then you're saying the reason why the cost of that car is coming is because of change of thinking. And just like 1 year later, I saw Uber come into a market. And all of a sudden, the people who were owning cars and they were idle, they would log them into the Uber thing, and the cars would be working while they're in their offices. Uber doesn't own any cars. It's people who owns cars. So what is Uber? Uber is a collaborative way of moving from one place to another. Why should my car be parked 8 hours in the parking? So this thing is only moving, and they're saying we are getting to a place where you'll be in your house and you want to go to work, and you go to your phone, and you through GPS you just select a car that is outside your house. You go, you drive the car to where you're going, you leave it there, and somebody else picks it up. And now the need for you and I to own a car will completely diminish, or if not disappear. And that will mean the cars will become more of commodities. And commodity prices will always keep going down. So these insights are really what we as leaders must equip ourselves with. And especially if you're people of faith, get these insights, get to understand the trends. Whatever you're planning for your company, plan for your company, strategize for your company with these futuristic trends in mind. If you're going into power generation and you're hoping that the power cost of power will be higher 20, 25 years from now, you are in for a big surprise. You need to think very differently. Let me pause there because I know I've given a very, very long-winded answer.
No, I'm just reflecting on that nice illustration that you have provided us, Pius, and I'm just even thinking what you mentioned, is already happening. It's not something that we're waiting to happen. And we know that we live in a global village where things are happening and catching up with us faster than ever. And that power of collaboration that you have stressed upon, we have seen it happen more and more, especially during the pandemic and post-pandemic. The car you have described, people jumping in and you park it and somebody else comes and drives it. It's already happening in North America. It's already happening. And it's just a matter of time. Yesterday on Nairobi streets, I saw a bus that is electric powered. And this is a public vehicle. So if we're looking at a public vehicle powered by electricity, it means that we are going to see the price of power coming down. And so, Pius, I want to just understand, with the place you sit, the investment portfolio that you have oversight on, what would you tell to our audience on some ways that they can begin to prepare themselves for this world that is coming, if it's not already here? How can they get ready for that?
So I see myself a bit like a Joseph. I've always seen myself by the as a Joseph. And it's interesting because that's really what I do. In good times, my gospel is always keep storing up in your granaries. Keep building up the granaries. Keep building up the granaries. And for those who have listen to me on our YouTube channel, they know that I'm a big proponent of paying yourself. It is godly. It is fundamental. Nothing will change in your life unless you pay yourself. We go to work so that we can mobilize capital, not to pay bills. Not to pay bills is to mobilize capital. So that 10%, and that's what we normally say, put at least 10% of your gross income somewhere. And that's whether you have a business or whether you run a business or you're employed.
You're employed.
Pay yourself, pay yourself. Now, where do you pay yourself? You need to pay yourself in an investment account. So tip number 2, make sure you open an investment account. If you pay yourself in your bank account, I can assure you, there are people who have superpowers of smelling when your bank account is too healthy. There will be emergencies, unnecessary emergencies coming, this or that, and you won't even be able to account how that money disappeared. I keep saying, it doesn't matter how much money I put on my M-Pesa. Whether it is 5,000 or 100,000, it still goes within a week. It finds legs. It finds legs. So open an investment account. An investment account is much more important than a bank account, because an investment account is about your future. A bank account is about transacting today, consuming today. So open an investment account. When you open an investment account, you start your pay, your every day, every month, every week. When you're paying yourself, your wealth starts growing. It is growing as your capital is building up. Then you enter into another very interesting thing that I call production. And well, the richest 1% in the world who own half of the global wealth, and they're just a handful of people. The one thing that makes them stand out is that they use their money to provide goods and services that are much needed by the human race. The rest of us, we use our money to buy things, to consume, and we are their customers. So if you're not producing anything, then you're setting yourself up for failure. You must be producing something that is needed. And when you produce yourself, something amazing happens. You impose yourself in other people's budgets. Meaning, when people are budgeting, doing their budgets, they say, hey, I need to pay my landlord. You are one of the landlords.
You're one of the landlords.
Yes, I need to set aside some money for groceries. You somehow in that value chain,
my supermarket.
Or
my kiosk.
Yes, your goods find themselves in the supermarket. You must be involved in production. And the key for success for this continent is production, not consumption. And I liked what the president said. I think we are aligned on that. So now when you're producing, you start generating something called business income. Now that business income, you must also deal with it the same way you deal with your salary. You must again pay yourself. When you pay yourself through business income and you're paying yourself through your salaries, you accelerate your capital buildup and you build a portfolio, a sizable portfolio. Now, a portfolio does something that a business and employment doesn't do for you. A portfolio insulates your family from the turbulence that affects your business and your employment. So if your employment comes to suddenly to an end, or your business is disrupted like COVID did, and customers are not paying you, or customers are not coming to your shop anymore, the lifestyle of your family should never be affected. Your children should go to the same school. You should be able to live in the same house. You should be able to hang out in the same social clubs that you hang out. You should be able to do the things that you always do, because your portfolio produces something called passive income. And passive income is the most important income that you'll ever earn. They say that in 2013, that Warren Buffett was earning $1.5 million every hour, even when you're sleeping. And keywords is when you were sleeping. So if you're listening to me, the question is, how much money are you making while you're sleeping? If you're making none, then that must change from today. And that's the power of passive income. So when you make passive income, you have a portfolio that is generating passive income. I give you the fifth P, which is personify. Personify means you need to see yourself as a mortal. You need to think about the generations that will come after you. It's been proven that by the third generation, the world is destroyed. And here, we constantly advise our customers they need to put together a family trust. And a family trust is a person, is an entity by themselves that owns everything that you own, and the assets that it owns are run professionally. And here comes the best piece of it. The passive income that comes from that portfolio is the best gift that you give to your children and your children's children as an inheritance. One of the things, Mercy, that has amazingly surprised me is that if you leave behind assets to your children that yield nothing, they will sell the assets because they don't need the assets. What they need is the
money that comes from it. Okay, so Pius, you were just explaining to us about how we can use the passive income to help us personify the same in our families. Carry on.
Thank you. So the idea of personifying your portfolio is to give it an identity that is independent of you, so that it can live beyond you, it can live beyond your children, it can live beyond your children's children. And the idea here is that the best inheritance you can ever leave to the generations that will come after you is the passive income that comes from your portfolio. I'll give you some examples. There is this group that is called Carlsberg. They have built a family trust. And one of the things that really impressed me, because they had come to our offices, was that they have this place in Denmark where if you're 19 years old and below and you bear the name Carlsberg, you're allowed to live in that place for free. Everything is taken care of. Education, everything that will equip you for life, it is taken care of. Then after 19, you are released to the world. You go and start adding value back to the trust, be a productive member of the society. And when you reach 65, you're welcome back again. You're allowed again to come into the estate where there are cooks, you provided shelter, everything that you need in that when you're in that age group going up. And this is something that has been going on for years, for generations. And when I thought about it, this is what family trust is all about. It can start with very humble beginnings, but if you build it with this vision that will go hundreds of years, then you see how it will affect many generations to come. There are clients that we are working on some of these things. Some of the things that we say that have really touched my heart are like education. As long as you bear this name, and even if we do not know you today, when you are born into this world, you'll be entitled to good education. You'll be entitled to good medical care. You'll be entitled to good shelter.
Wow.
What an amazing
such wisdom. Yeah, just carry on. I'm just amazed by that. Carry on. This
what an amazing yeah. So and this is not something you can be able to do when you just are asset rich but you're cash poor. You must build a portfolio deliberately and using professionals who can daily wake up to sweat these assets, that they are constantly generating the cash flows that will go to do these wonderful things that you want to do and leave as a gift for your family. And the beauty is it also invites other people. They can also start adding to the trust as it can grow and it can continue serving. And it removes our focus from surviving to living our purpose. What is my God-given purpose? Why was I sent under the sun? Because a lot of things have already been taken care of. You can live much more purposefully and impact and leave this world a better place because you don't live to pay bills. Let me pause there because I know that's a lot to take in a short interview like this one.
No, I have actually been processing, Pius, what you are sharing with us and trying to contextualize it in the context of the Leadership Garage conversations. And I'm seeing what I'm calling the 5P's of the wheels of fortune. You know, you've started us off the need to pay ourselves. That's the first P. The second P is the need to have a portfolio of investment. The third P is the need to actually be productive and have production as being core as opposed to consumption. And when we do that, with that wheel of fortune rolling, you know, wheels are made to turn. And as it's turning, it begins to produce a passive income. And our passive income, again, is something that happens to us while we are asleep. That's the core there. Passive income. What are you earning while you're asleep? And you share the example of what Warren Buffett earns while he's asleep. Well, we know he's one of the world's wealthiest people. But even if we could just earn a fraction of what he does, that is a great milestone for each and every one of us. And then with that, you're encouraging us to be able to build or personify what this whole wheel of fortune can mean to our families and leave generations behind us, being able to benefit from that. And I see great value if we can just be able to tap into this. And to our audience, especially, I know it doesn't matter where you are in the world, but I want to specifically speak to the audience in Kenya. If this is something that interests you and you want to tap into, we will be sharing details of how you can contact Nabo Capital, and they can be able to walk and journey with you in this context. Now, Pius, we have been keeping our audience in suspense. We want to hear this car story. Can I ask you to kindly share with us that story? Because we know when we listen to stories, the power it helps us to remind us what is at stake here, really, to get these 5 wheels, the 5P's on the wheels of fortune that you have just shared with us. How can we be able to remember this and the importance of the same? Over to you, Pius.
Thank you. I'm a big fan of experience. How for me, a car is something that moves you from one place to another. But what amazes me is that we can actually be on the same road with our cars, but we are having very different experiences.
Absolutely true.
Very different experiences. So I'll tell you 2 cars that I've always loved. And one is, of course, a sports Range Rover. The experience is something else. You don't even know whether you're in the car. You're in a house that is really moving. So that's one of that gives me the ultimate experience on the roads and completely makes me forget that I'm actually on the road. Another car that I really love, I always say, regardless of whatever car that I have with Canada, I will always have a Land Cruiser. I will always have a Land Cruiser because of, again, the experience. We live in very rough terrain. And for me, a Land Cruiser gives me that experience. I can go anywhere, anytime. I don't care what road is ahead of me, but I know we're gonna get there. And if there's a problem, I know we can sort it out in that locality. I don't have to ship the car back to Nairobi. So those are my two favorite cars: the V8 Land Cruiser and Sports Range Rover. Yeah.
Okay. So I hear a couple of things there from the car's experience being very important, that you want to be able to have a car that is reliable and a car that you can trust to be able to navigate you even in that rough terrain. A car that you know is dependable, and a car that gives you the life experience that is required, no matter whether it's a smooth road or a rough road. So let me ask you, Pius, how can you relate this trust, the life experience, the reliability, dependability on your person as a leader in the journey that you have been, and helping our audience to be able to connect those dots even for themselves?
Thank you. If you're a leader, then you are involved in production. You're involved in delivering a good or service to people who really need it. Now, there are two ways of delivering that. You can just deliver it and they have it. But I belong to the Steve Jobs uh, corner, where
Mm-hmm.
the experience of delivering is as important as the product or the service.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's how I believe as a leader, going beyond product and getting to the ultimate um, experience, human experience that you want to deliver to the human race, and make them completely forget that they're even consuming anything. But you have really made the experience something totally different. I liked what Steve Jobs did. Combined a phone, internet, and music,
Mm-hmm.
and camera.
Yep.
And that transformed all of us. Completely uh, different experience.
Yes.
Today when we go to work out in the gyms, people are wearing their AirPods. People are wearing, you know, um, earpieces, and they're hearing music that is not, and there's no wire following them.
No. No.
Wireless, wireless.
Yes.
I mean, we are 20, 30 people in the same locality, but listening to very different content.
Yes.
Imagine that experience that a human being has delivered. For me,
Mm-hmm.
I believe the ultimate achievement
Mm-hmm.
for any leader is to change
Mm-hmm.
human experience and take it to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I
why we're
love
here
that.
as leaders.
I love that. As leaders, we're here to create an experience and help those that we are called to serve to be part of these experiences. And you know what, Pius? I want to share with you and also with our audience some words that I read from one of our mentors this morning, which I think are very profound, but also tie in very well with our conversation today. And my mentor, Ray Popan, has said, "You are a leader, what many others may desire to be, but will never pay the price to be. You don't lead puppies, so you won't always be liked. You're not a clown, so you will not always entertain everybody. You are not a politician, so you won't always tell everyone what they want to hear. You're not a masseuse, so you won't always make everyone feel good. You're not a cruise ship captain, so you won't always put a smile on everyone's face. You are a leader. Your path is not easy, but neither is it crowded. You live on the road less troubled. You will not find all of its benefit, worth, appreciation, and value on this side of eternity. You are a leader. You do the hard things, teach the hard principles, require the hard commitments, stand in hard times, solve hard problems, embrace hard challenges, and overcome hard situations. You were made for hard, to be caring, compassionate, consoling, but made for hard. You are a leader. And those are the words written by my mentor, Ray Popham. He shared them on his page this morning. And listening to you, Pius, I couldn't help but reflect on these very words, because I think what you have actually shared with us resonates and ties in very well. As leaders, we are called to lead. It is not a calling that everybody will embrace, but if we do it right and we serve the purpose of our calling, the reason why you and I were created to be on this face of the earth, then we will have accomplished our mission. And when we get to the other side, we will receive the accolades of well done, good and faithful servant. So, Pius, what is your parting shot to our audience as we wind up? What is your parting shot? Over to you.
Thank you. I think that quote has summarized a lot of things for a leader. We were made for hard. It's a road less traveled. It's a lonely path.
Yeah.
But with God, we can change human experiences. We can change the world. And I would just say to all the leaders who are listening, do not be discouraged. Be strong and courageous. It is a worthwhile journey, and the prize that awaits you is worthwhile. And many will thank God and pray for you because you change lives. So it is worthwhile. Thank you.
It is. Thank you so much, Pius. It has just been a very enriching, very enlightening moment spent with you. Such amazing nuggets. And I want to just encourage you, if you are listening to us, you have just listened to us, please share with somebody else. There's somebody out there waiting to hear the words that Pius has just shared with us, and they could be the words that will keep them going, encouraging them in the road less traveled to recognize that they can still keep the momentum going. And even for you and I to still be able to plug in and get those 5P's of the wheels of fortune happening in our lives and helping us to leave a legacy for our families. So thank you so much, Pius, for being with us today. You are listening to the Leadership Conversations podcast series, and we look forward to seeing you next time. And do have a good one, and bye-bye. Pius, we can say bye-bye to our audience as we wind up.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.